So, welcome everybody. My name is Patrick O'Malley, and I'm really glad that you're here. Today's session is about something that a lot of us are quietly thinking about, that there's got to be a better way to practice medicine. And telemedicine is no longer a side option. For many clinicians, it's becoming the path to more control, more flexibility, and a career that actually fits their life instead of competing with it. But before we get started, I just want to take a minute to tell you why this session exists and where it's coming from. This is all part of ShiftChange. And ShiftChange is a community of emergency and urgent care clinicians and very carefully chosen subject matter experts who are building something beyond the traditional clinical path. Some are exploring telemedicine, which is why we're having the talk today. Some are launching businesses, and some are just trying to figure out what's next. But the common thread is this: they don't want to stay stuck. And what we've built is a place where those types of conversations can turn into action, where you can connect with people who are actually doing things, learning from them, and start to move forward yourself. So if what you hear today resonates, I'd strongly encourage you to check it out. And there's a free 7-day trial to Shift Change that we'll put in the comments, and it'll give you a real feel for what we're building. And again, I'll put a link to that trial down in the chat. So now let's get into why you're here. And we've got an outstanding group of physicians who have each built a different version of a telemedicine career. And they're going to show you what's actually possible and how to start moving in that direction. So Doctors Sunir Shander, Thomas Doohan, and Ajit Dubey, thank you for your time and thank you for being here. I'm going to turn it over to you guys and you can get started.
Thank you, Patrick. Appreciate the introduction. So, my name is Sunir Chander. I'm one of the co-founders of Air Physician Academy. Today, we're going to talk to you about how you can use telemedicine to build the life you want. Now, I'm so lucky to have Tom Doohan and Ajit Dubey with me. They've been with Air since the beginning. They participated in the first cohort. So they're one of the people. They're two of the people that have had the most experience with our program and the outcomes of our program. So I'm really excited to have them to share with you what their life looks like now. What we're going to go over today is how telemedicine can support you to design your ideal work life. We're going to learn about the Air Elite Telemedicine Training Program. And then we're going to hear from the doctors who transitioned to a successful telemedicine career. So, like Patrick said, doctors are trying to do something different. And what we have come to find is doctors want control over their schedule, time with their family, relief from burnout, career growth, leadership opportunities, and to love medicine again. And that's what we really want people to come out of our program with, all of those things. For those who don't know me, I'm an emergency medicine physician. This is a stock image. It's not a real image of where I used to practice, but it does bring back a little PTSD for me. I think that I know that since I left the emergency department, I've had several conversations with physicians, and what I kept quiet inside, a lot of doctors felt. So I'll just explain to you what I was feeling before I left. I had practiced in the Boston area for about 20 years. And I don't know that I was burnt out, but I didn't feel that growth in my career. I didn't feel like I was changing. I felt like I was working for someone else. I was living in a well-to-do neighborhood, always trying to catch up with my bills, with my bonuses, and my bonuses would start coming 30 days late, 3 months late, 6 months late, once a year late. And it was always I was always made to feel like it was like my fault and normal. And so that was like one issue. Another issue was I had to ask permission for time off. A lot of times I did not get the time off that I needed to spend with my family. I wound up deciding to work nights because I wanted to spend more time with my family, and it was a trade-off. It was, hey, Sunir, you could work 60% of the time or 70% of the time, make the same money but work nights. Um, Yeah, I had more time with my family, but at the end of the day, I was kind of mean and cranky the entire time, so I didn't have a lot of quality time with my family. The pandemic hit, they cut 40% of my shifts, and then 40% of my income was subsequently cut. And I decided to go into telemedicine, to try telemedicine, not because I thought I would love it, but because I needed to hustle and provide for my family. What I found was that I did love it. It hits this intersection of qualities that I did not have in my emergency medicine career. I was always an early adopter. I need to buy the first iPhone. I need to be stand in line to get it. So using technology to innovate new care models, super interesting to me. I love the fact that I have a flexible schedule, not only with time but also with geography. I can be anywhere in the world in practice. I love the fact that there's so much opportunity for leadership opportunities, and I can go and advise companies on what they need to do clinically. And then it definitely scratches this creative entrepreneurship itch that I did not get when I was in emergency medicine. Uh, Fast forward a couple of years, I left the emergency department. I have multiple clinical roles, multiple leadership roles, and am able to take time off when I want based on my needs. And I don't really worry about bonuses anymore coming in on time. Now, telemedicine is creating new pathways. It allows you to to have a schedule that fits your life, not the other way around. It allows you to have the ability to explore new roles because it frees up time for you to do that. And then you get to serve new patient populations because you have national reach. In 2023, just in the US market, it was a $30 billion industry. In 2030, it's projected to be $80 billion. Globally, it's going to go from 123 to $455 billion. Reason why we put this up there is that a lot of doctors feel like they missed their moment in telemedicine, that it's saturated. A lot of doctors that we talked to don't necessarily have that abundance mindset or they have limiting beliefs. We want to make sure that you guys understand that as far as we're concerned, it's a blue ocean out there. There's so much opportunity. Now, digital healthcare does not work the same way that traditional healthcare it works, and we want to dispel some of those myths. In traditional healthcare, you have a fixed schedule, whereas digital healthcare, you control your schedule and it's flexible. In traditional healthcare, your physical presence is required, whereas in digital healthcare, you can work from anywhere. I went to go visit my daughter at her university, and decided to go visit her last minute, and I worked from there. No, no, like there was no interruption in my work schedule because I decided to take a trip. In traditional healthcare, you have a local patient pool where in digital healthcare, you can practice across state lines. Traditional healthcare, you have a financial ceiling. No hospital and no clinic is going to let you make more than they want you to make. Whereas digital healthcare, the economic fundamentals are different. You control your schedule and you have all the leverage to have a higher income potential. Now, a lot of doctors will talk to us and ask us about regulations or rules that are going to be passed by the government to limit Medicare reimbursements. Now, we want to make sure that everybody understands that we don't practice solely in an insurance-based care. In fact, telehealth companies make revenue because they have direct-to-consumer cash pay models. They have value-based contracts, fat fingers, and they also have fee-for-service insurance billing models. Now, physicians can get paid in different ways. They can get paid per consult, so not on an hourly. They can get paid hourly. They can get paid monthly stipends, performance-based bonuses, And if they have leadership duties, they can get paid in equity and stock options. A lot of physicians will ask us about how malpractice is covered. Now, it works exactly the same way as it does in a hospital or a clinic. You're going to get malpractice covered for you, especially if you're working for a reputable company. You're going to get the basic 1-3 coverage. You don't have to go out and purchase it on your own. Now, this is just a representation of a bunch of companies that physicians who've been through our program have either leadership opportunities at or have started themselves. These are not like the brand names that you may have heard of, like Teladoc, Amwell, or MD Live. These are real companies that air physicians have asserted themselves as leaders in. You may not have heard of them. All right. A lot of people will ask us why we focus on getting 51. We're not a telemedicine education course that teaches you how to get 5 or 10 licenses and operate that way. We teach you how to leverage 51 licenses. And the real reasons that it gives you leverage and leverage gives you flexibility and opportunities. If you get one license, oh, sorry, apologize. There are 1 million physicians in the United States, of which 8% of them have 3 or more licenses. Um, the numbers get really even smaller. We've gotten data reports telling us that there's somewhere between 300 and 500 doctors in the country that are nationally licensed like we are. If you have one license, you're using that to see patients for your hospital and clinic or clinic, and you're limited to see those patients in that catchment area. But if you get licensed across the country, there are over 300 million Americans that you can take care of. That is a leverage that you have. That is what's going to make you attractive to telehealth companies from the get-go. Now, the roles, a lot of doctors are really worried that all they're going to do in telemedicine is see viral illnesses and try to explain why patients don't need antibiotics, or they're going to not be a great doctor and prescribe antibiotics. We want to make sure that you understand that it's not just synchronous care. I personally love synchronous care. I do like the urgent care visit. I do like niche care visits. I do think that it allows me to have a human connection with patients. However, there are also asynchronous case reviews that you can do. There's remote patient oversight. Additionally, you can do chart reviews and peer reviews. A lot of the doctors who go through our program participate in supervising APPs and expanding access to care, especially in rural regions of the country. There are doctors who've been through our program who work as advisors for company. One of our doctors helped develop a homegrown EHR for a telehealth company by working with their product and engineering team. We have doctors who work with AI companies to help hone their models to be more accurate. We have doctors who go out and develop clinical protocols for companies as well. Then there's definitely an opportunity for fractional roles as medical directors, chief medical officers, and a lot of our doctors are getting opportunities as practice owners for telehealth companies. We have a physician out in California who works for a couple of companies and is works on the company's marketing team, giving the physician voice of what needs to be said in order to attract patients to their practice. We have doctors participating in decentralized studies. In fact, I'm a sub-investigator on an NIH funded study where we're examining long COVID. And those people who know me, I'm not at all an academic. It is not. It's not something that I grew up doing, but it's really fun to participate in that kind of program. So now I'm going to open up the conversation, bring in Ajit and Tom. I have a bunch of questions that I can go ahead and start asking you guys. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right. Can you guys share with me what made you start exploring telemedicine and what wasn't working in your previous career that pushed you to do something different?
G, do you want to go first, or you want me to? I can pick
You
it
go
up.
ahead, Tom.
I think a lot of just going to re-echo what Sunir said, but I think the biggest thing was certainly burnout. I mean, the questions really intertwined. Truthfully, it wasn't really what wasn't working well. It was like really more what was actually working right. Truthfully, I was miserable. I was making everyone around me miserable. The day before shift, which just felt, filled with this impending doom, having to work tomorrow, waking up in the morning with this dread, driving to work, feeling miserable. Every second of that shift was just draining. And it felt like I was just so unhappy all the time. It really felt like I was the only time I got relief from work. If I was really truthfully always at work. If I wasn't there physically, I was there mentally. The only relief from it was that couple hours at the end of my shift. But I was truthfully too emotionally, physically drained to enjoy it. So I really started dabbling my toes in right before COVID. Joined Teledoc for a couple months. Really wasn't what I thought it was going to be, and backed out. And then just kind of stumbled back into air, which reinvigorated my career choice to switch back into telemedicine full time, and that's how I got back into it.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, I want to echo kind of both what Sunir and Tom said. I'm emergency medicine trained as well, and you know, I actually, to be honest, I actually enjoyed and loved ER. I still, I haven't worked a clinical shift in like almost 3 years, but I still identify as an ER physician, in my mind, and I love the work. But then after a number of years, it kind of just, you know, it wasn't so much the patient care, but more like the system, like patients sitting in the hallways for like 3 days waiting for a bed, or just the system turned into kind of a grind. And then I was looking for ways out. I went into administration. I became medical director, assistant chief. Then I became the service line director, chair. And then, I found things that were outside of the field, but it was still kind of always just like at the end, it was just kind of, it felt like a grind. And I wanted to find something that kind of, again, and like Senior, I did night shifts for a while too. I was like, okay, how do I get my time back? And the grind just kind of seemed like it was too much and it didn't seem sustainable. Like I couldn't see myself doing it for another 10, 15 years. That to me felt like way too much. And I started out with thinking about telehealth, similar to Tom, where I just kind of like, maybe I'll do a couple hours here and there, buy down a shift of ER work and make it more manageable. Then when I found air, I was like, I can do all telehealth, and I could make the same money, if not more. Like it was an exciting opportunity.
All right. Now, each of you has built a different path into telemedicine. Uh, can you walk us through some specific roles you've taken, what you like about them, what you enjoy?
Yeah, so I think when you first get started, you kind of take on some of the jobs you don't necessarily wind up with. It's kind of just get your foot in the door. Maybe not the things you really want to do or enjoy, but it allows you to dip your toes in the water, recognize that it's something you can do, and then quickly replace your brick and mortar salary and then really jump into doing other stuff you want to do full time. I think you kind of, as you get more and more into it, you recognize more and more what different niches in medicine are out there. Dabble with them and really find your groove, and then you basically switch over to those. I've done a little bit of everything. Still do a little bit of urgent care, some of it with AI. I still feel like I'm doing a little bit more of that emergency medicine in that role, but I've done the women's health, sexual health, doing HIV PrEP, HIV care, which I never thought I would ever do. Some weight loss, longevity medicine seems like it's the next thing on the horizon that's getting ready to boom, and I'm really just looking to expand my footprint to that right now.
Ajit?
Yeah, it's I think a roller coaster ride, kind of starting off, right? Like you get a lot of licenses. You kind of start out with like ramping up with your license, you get a couple jobs, and then all of a sudden, for me, it was like at month like seven, all of a sudden I had like six jobs all at the same time. And you're learning some new jobs, you're picking up other jobs, you're dropping. Within the matter of the first 2 years, I went through 25 different companies. So a lot of it was really, kind of that growth mindset of just like take everything on you can, learn. And the business world works different than the hospital world, right? Like we're all used to I think when we all started medicine, we thought, I'm just going to do this forever and then retire at the same job, at the same hospital. But the business world, they move fast, and it's okay to try something, see if you like it, see if it fits your life and your goals, and then move on. There was, the funnest thing I think I've done was being a medical director for one of the startups. It's performance in men's health, longevity, and just seeing how they work in a startup compared to when I was the director at the hospital. Like they were making changes while I was having a meeting. It was amazing. Lots of fun.
Yeah. I do think in the beginning, when you're starting to enter this space, you're gonna take on things, you have to take on things that you may not wind up enjoying. You don't know that before you start.
Right.
And eventually, as your career takes shape, you understand what you like, what you don't like, and then you craft your career to have more jobs that really energize you rather than drain you. Is that fair?
Yeah, actually, so near that, where I was medical director, that job, I'll never forget because I remember you were like, "Hey, do you want to work this job? It's in clomiphene." I was like, "I don't even know what that is, but yes." And then within a year, they were like, "Hey, we love working with you. Do you want to be medical director?" It was a cool experience, and I loved the job.
Amazing. Amazing. What does your work life look like today compared to before? How has telemedicine changed your lifestyle, your schedule?
Yeah. So I mean, my life is totally different right now. My work day, it was truly just like Ajit was saying, it was just the grind. You get there, honestly, you just sit in the car waiting for the grind to start, moping the whole way you got there, and then just on sympathetic overdrive, for 12 hours until you went home. Now it's so much less stressful. I completely work on my own terms. I mean, to walk you through today, I'm on the East Coast. It's 12:30 here. I wake up with my wife. She goes to work. Every morning I listen to her complain about hitting traffic while slip on a sweatshirt, grab my dog, pull him into the spot next to me here in my office, drink some coffee. I went outside, threw a tennis ball around with him, went back to work. I think the one thing what I like now is that I was missing. I was acutely aware of every minute that I was working in the emergency department, and then just always hearing about this flow that you're seeking. Just kind of like, you wake up and how did I get here? I log into work, I knock out 2, 3 hours and just, I don't feel it. Um, it's totally different. Everything is different. I used to work when and where someone else wanted me to do that. Now I work when and where I feel like working. So it's truly been great. I think that's the biggest key is life is better in every way. Lifestyle is better in every way.
Ajit?
Yeah, schedule control for sure. I mean, time is the number one. Like my priority was like trying to make more time for my family, for my health. Having that schedule control, working when you want, especially with 51 licenses, because you have that leverage to work when you want. There's always patients to be seen. Um, and so for instance, like for Christmas and New Year's, we went to Japan and went skiing in Japan for like 3 weeks. In the past, to do that kind of trip, I would have had to beg for time off, especially over Christmas and New Year's. Like I have to
Hmm.
work 50% of those in the past, right? I would have to beg for time off. I would have to stack all my shifts right before my leaving. And then as soon as I come back, right into a stack of shifts again, right? Now it's like I can work when I want. And then while I was in Japan, I would just wake up like 2 hours before my family, do 3 hours of work, like Tom is saying, and then I was done. It was just a great experience.
Okay. Um, what were the biggest early challenges? How'd you overcome them?
I think two, really. I think there was this fear of failure and the risk that you were taking. Like I remember talking to Sneer when I first, before I even joined AIR. My kids are 1 year ahead of his, where, I was getting ready for my son to go to college the following year. And, I had this established golden handcuffs of a nice salary. And I was afraid of what I was going to be taking on. And it's certainly financially risky, area. Obviously, I'd say for college, but you truthfully never know. The other thing is there's this mindset, I think probably most of us have all wanted to be doctors forever. My mom was an ER doctor. I always wanted to follow in her footsteps. I worked hard in high school, worked hard in college, went to residency 4 years, worked for 20 years as an emergency room doctor. And then there was like this, when you first started, you're like, am I really a doctor anymore? You're like, did I give up on my dream of being an emergency room doctor for a while? It took some time, but just with time, I recognized that my career really, was 20 years long in emergency medicine. It was successful. Truthfully, my dream of being an ER doctor was kind of really a nightmare, not to be too down. But I really found success and recognized that I was probably doing more something that I loved, and really having that freedom that G was speaking of to enjoy life outside of work again with my wife, my family, travel, and just really the freedom to do anything I wanted to.
Yeah, Tom nailed it. I mean, I'm the same. For me, the biggest challenge is, just getting started was the number one challenge. I thought about telehealth for like 2 years straight.
Mhm.
And, is this for real? Is this going to last? Can I really make, enough money to support my three kids through college and retire? Um, I was just kind of frozen before starting. And then when finally I started and kind of went with the mindset of just all in, it really opened doors.
Yeah, I think you guys know we totally recognize that making this transition is like super anxiety provoking to the point that the first 2 to 3 weeks of our course is really like a therapy session, right? Like it's helping guide you guys through the anxiety of making taking that first step, really. Um, yeah, I'm going to move on to the next question, though. What skills do you need to build? I love this question, by the way. What skills do you need to build to succeed in a telemedicine career, and how did you gain those?
So I don't think you necessarily need new skills. I think everyone on here already has the skills to do it. I think really what you need is that switch in mindset, really just kind of a willingness to get comfortable with what makes you uncomfortable. Um, it's really just like this willingness to say yes. I mean, you may realize that, hey, I might be interested in doing this. That's something different, kind of what Ajit was saying in clomiphene. What I didn't really know anything about HIV care or HIV prevention care other than, make sure the viral load is normal. But I said yes. I took a job, and it's probably the most fulfilling one I've gotten now. So it's really just you can learn. We can all learn what we need to learn fairly quickly. It's not hard, but you just have to switch that mindset from saying, I think I'm willing to accept that ability to feel that it might be uncomfortable trying to learn something new and just go ahead and do it. And when you look back in a month or two, you realize it was the right thing to do for you.
Ajit?
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, like, I think two things. One is change and adaptability. The whole field moves quickly, and when you're starting a lot of different positions, you're learning fast. Not so much the medicine, although a little bit of the medicine, but also like the systems, the EMRs, the communication platforms. So all of that takes a little bit of time. You got to be ready for it and understand that it's hard at first. But it's actually, I kept telling myself it's easier than being an ER doctor, honestly. And it's easier than med school for sure. So I think everyone here does have that. I think that change ready and then that mindset that Tom mentioned, just kind of, everything is looking at everything like an opportunity. You're not going to be perfect at it, but you already have the skills to succeed.
Right.
Yeah, a couple of points I'd make is that generally we try to teach at AIR. I think doctors generally are very black and white. It's yes or no. We try to inject the yes if mindset that hey, if these conditions are met, then I would be open to this. I also do think that you guys are right about not needing a new set of skills for practicing clinically. It's just adapting skills and changing mindset. How about, gee, you got a leadership position. How about that? Like what, how did you take on, I do think you developed new skills to become a leadership, have a leadership role in a startup.
Yeah, I had a lot of leadership beforehand, so I had that background already. But the startup was cool too in the sense that, it moved at a different pace, and then working with like I didn't have to work with engineers before, right? Because I didn't realize how heavy engineer use is in telehealth and EMRs and marketing. So you're working with a different set of, yeah, like I learned a whole new language for like and then even like product launches. It was like a whole new language that I had to learn. And it was exciting. Like, we did a product launch and I got to be part of it. And yeah, it was, making clinical guidelines, all of it was really interesting stuff.
Yeah. How did you guys approach licensing? I mean, we when you joined us, you knew you were getting 51, right? So what do you think about 51 versus 10, 15, 20? Are you glad you did the 51?
Oh yeah, most definitely. You can't do this the right way. You can't do it full time anyway without all 51. Like I said, in 2020, before I joined Air, I dabbled in Teledoc and one of these big urgent care groups, and I'd gone ahead and I had my North Carolina license, reactivated my New York one. I think I got 17 more. Um, that's great. I mean, that's great for those jobs. With 19, 20, you're probably gonna have the jobs that you don't want to work. You're not gonna have access to the ones you actually want. I'd gone ahead and used the air licensing agent. It was the easy button. I'd gone through all the pain of doing it myself for those 19, and I just hit the easy button, let her do it. She, to this day, she does all my renewals. Looking back, I mean, all my jobs, the ones that I love, are all the ones because I've got all 50 plus DC. Like you were said earlier when you kicked off the webinar, seniors, that 51 allows you that leverage to work for who you want to work for, the best jobs, and to work at them when you want to work at them.
Yeah, I agree. I think the leverage that Tom and Sunir are talking about are there's two things. One is the companies love to have a physician that has 51 licenses. It makes it easy for them.
Mhm.
Then they can scale faster. They have less instead of hiring 20 people to cover a certain region, they have one person that can run through it. So the companies want the 51ers, and also for you personally, there's if you when you have 51 licenses, the leverage is there's always patients all through the country, no matter what time it is. So, there's always at any time I can hop on and just see patients make money.
Ajit has the fortune to live in Hawaii, and therefore, like he's seeing patients in the East Coast while he's awake in the daytime and covering our nights over here in the East Coast. So, there's also I think it goes to speak it speaks to the fact that there's always patients to be seen no matter where you are. Um, How has telemedicine impacted your earning potential and financial stability?
So for me personally, it's probably at least 3x my emergency medicine salary. Obviously, much more financially stable. I think I'm pretty sure I'll always work at some point in my life, but I think it's really accelerated my full-time, retirement by a few years. Still it's easy work. I think I'll still continue to work part-time, telemedicine, which is certainly well able to do. Uh, Last year I probably went more after earning as much as I possibly could. And then just very recently, in full transparency, realized that's probably not why I went into telemedicine. So I'm really dialing it back. You really just want to do that flexibility. So not necessarily chasing the money, but really just kind of really spent the weekend just trying to recognize, hey, what dollar do I want to earn the rest of this year, next year? and then just truthfully just using AI to say, hey, this is how many days I want off. This is how many days I'm willing to work full time. I don't want to work nights. How much do I need to, how much do I need to earn that day? And then truthfully, I've got a hard out. I hit that number or it's 3 p.m., whichever one comes first. Uh, I turn off and I'm done for the day.
I like that, Tom. I'm going to copy you. That's I'm at the same stage.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to do the 3 p.m. hard cutoff. I like that. Um, Yeah, I mean, I've for me, it's the money's good, and the time that it allows. Like, so I have three kids. That was one of the motivations. Was like, we're living paycheck to paycheck. Especially in Hawaii, right? The cost of living is insane. And then we had three kids to get through college. And since the change, we're not living paycheck to paycheck, and I'm able to support my kids through college. And I'm going to retire on time, if not a little bit earlier. And I agree with Tom, like part of my equation too is, the ER I couldn't have done for another 15 years, but this job, I could work a couple hours every day, well into like the older ages.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree. I was part of my shift into telemedicine was during that pandemic. I mentioned that story about my shifts getting cut. I had grossly underfunded my 529 plans for my kids. And just a few years later, I haven't used my 529 plan to pay for college yet. It's a the stability and the financial flexibility that I've achieved through telemedicine has been really freeing from like an anxiety and stress perspective. It's been great for me. What do physicians misunderstand most about this career path? I got one after you guys go.
Yeah, we'll probably say similar things. You alluded to it before, where when what I first thought it was, and I think what most of my colleagues think I do, and certainly my neighbors think I do, is really just do synchronous one-to-one fight with people about why they don't need antibiotics for their sinus infections every day. Um, I That's not what I do at all. Certainly, you can if you want to, uh, but I think that's probably what most doctors think telemedicine is. It's just this one-to-one virtual urgent care. Maybe you might have recognition now that, hey, there's like virtual critical care that's out there. Your hospital system might have some like post-discharge or post-admission, follow-up virtual care. That's truthfully just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, that's all just that's so limited in what's out there. Um, I think you really just need to understand that there's truthfully a niche for everything. If you can dream it up right now, someone's probably already doing it. If they're not, you can do it.
Yeah, I agree. The whole when I tell people I do telehealth, they're like, yeah, the assumption is I'm sitting in front of a computer, someone else is sitting in front of a computer. We talk back and forth, and I prescribe antibiotics or not. But yeah, there's so much more to it that I didn't see, and then so much even just in the like 3 years that I've been doing this, the things that have changed and the growth that's occurred is amazing, and I just see it continuing.
Yeah. The one thing that I'd say is I think a lot of people consider the Air Physician Academy is a place for people who are burnt out. And there's definitely a swath of doctors who join because of that. I mean, Tom and Ajit, I think transparently, you guys said that was part of the reason why. Ajit, less so. Um, I'd say about 50% of the doctors who come through our program still have some sort of hybrid career path where they're spending half of their time in the hospital setting and half their time in a telemedicine setting, and simply because they want to extend their career. They love going into and seeing patients live in the brick and mortar, and they just know that their current trajectory is not sustainable for the long term, and they want to add years to their career. Is that fair, guys?
Definitely.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yep. Um, what advice would you give a physician who is curious about but unsure how to begin?
Uh, it's I think the fear is if you're just don't be afraid of the risk. If you're curious, really look into it. Obviously, I don't want to, plug air. I did it the wrong way initially, and I lasted 3 months. I did air, and I'm 3 years in. I'm loving every second of it. So if you're curious about it, don't follow. I was the same as Ajit. I thought about it for 2 years. He thought about it for 2 years, and then just stalled and procrastinated. Ultimately, took the leap and did it. So if you're curious, reach out to Sunir, reach out to Takashi, myself. Uh, Probably Jeet, I'm sure, is willing to talk as well, and really just kind of learn more about it and just feel more comfortable in making that switch over. I guarantee you won't regret it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I would say for me, looking back at just get started. If you're thinking about it, sometimes just got to take that step. Just getting started is the hardest step for me, and I think for many of us, right? We're waiting for the perfect time, the perfect opportunity, the perfect setup. But I think just get started and get moving. And then, yeah, there's this community, whether you join AIR or not. I'm happy. We've all been through this, and we all know what it takes. I'm happy to talk to anyone as well. So, I've had people help me through it, and happy to help other people.
Absolutely.
Last question I have before we go to like the chat. What's one way telemedicine has improved your life that you didn't expect?
Um, there's so many ways, truthfully. I mean, we've touched on most of them. I just think the one thing I didn't expect was, before I got started, there was always this on paper, this is what life is going to look like and it's going to be great. I didn't realize how much better it was actually going to be, to be honest with you. It's it's really met my expectations and exceeded them. I think that it's everything. Truthfully, we've discussed it. Ajit mentioned it before. Is like, I'm going on vacation for 2 weeks this summer. God only knows what I would have had to do, or actually I know what I would have had to do to arrange that. Uh, I used to, I was the medical director. I was making the schedule. I was pretty sure I was going to get stuck working Thanksgiving, Christmas. I might not know until the day before. I now know I'm never working Christmas again. I'm never working Thanksgiving again. I know I'm never working the day before Thanksgiving again, so we can go golfing with my family and spend family time. Truthfully, I sleep better. My job before was, I used to worry about I've got to go to bed early so I can wake up early, go to a shift. I've got to work nights. I've got to take a nap. Man, I go to bed in my own bed every night. I work weekends if I want to, don't want to. Uh, it's truthfully so much sweeter. It's the other thing that I didn't mention before is, again, another plug for Air, is that when I first joined, I really thought it was going to be more of like a one and done course. Learn it, jump in, and just keep doing it. You know, that's what my career looked like. Uh, you know, this 2 days ago, I spent an hour on the phone with one of my friends from the first cohort, talking about life and then talking shop. We were on a virtual meeting last night discussing income diversification with all the other prior graduates and colleagues of AIR. Um, it's it's without being too much of a pipe dream. It's truthfully been a it's been a dream come true for me. It's been a godsend. My career is definitely going to be extended. Um, certainly alluded to all the burnout. I try to talk my friends out of it all the time. My dad was sick for a while. I spent several times in ERs with him waiting to be admitted and boarding and just watching the barrage of just sympathetic overload that you're experiencing and just realizing I'm no longer in that world. I don't think you realize it while you're living it, but I had that ability to step out, look from outside in, and just realize that life is so much better. And so thankful for it, to be honest with you.
For me, it was I didn't realize how rewarding it could be medically, like helping people.
Yeah.
It's certainly not saving lives like in the ER, but even asynchronous care, where you know you're not actually at the same time talking to someone, just kind of almost chatting back and forth, can be very rewarding. Like you actually feel like you're helping people, and people are very grateful. I didn't expect, like, I expected time off, I expected schedule, I expected finances, but I didn't expect it to be as rewarding as it can be. I mean, some days it's still a grind. Some days it's still you're working and you just kind of feel like you're going through the motions. But overall, it's been significantly rewarding.
It's still work.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, wow. All right. I'm gonna just look through the chat real quick. See if there's any questions out there. Someone asked, are the licensing requires different applying for telehealth versus working in a particular state? So Ada, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. The answer is there are a few states that do have telehealth licenses. At this point, we advocate that you just get a full license in every state. That gives you the most flexibility and opportunity. Um, at what point do you transition telemedicine? Do you set up your LLC, and what steps did you take to accomplish this? Um, You don't need to set up an LLC. We highly advocate that you do once you start making an income north of 150K a year in telemedicine. That's when you can utilize the LLC for tax mitigation strategies that you wouldn't otherwise be able to, like setting up a DB plan, defined benefits plan, or other opportunities. But other than that, you can operate as a 1099 independent contractor without getting an LLC. People who go through the AIR program, I would imagine every single person has gotten an LLC with an S corp designation. Um, they've hit that income threshold where it makes sense. What steps would you take? It's not that hard. Honestly, the first step is making sure that an LLC counts in the state you're in. In Massachusetts, you need a PLLC. In another state, you need a PC. So you want to make sure that you understand what you need in your state. And then it's either hiring a lawyer or accountant or doing it yourself on LegalZoom to set it up. The biggest question we get is, what do I name it? Uh, Mine is 5SC Solutions because everybody in my family, I have 5 members in my family, we all have the initials SC. Really creative. Ajit, what's yours?
Mine actually, my son named it. It's Health Level Max. He's a big gamer, so it was.
Tom, what's your name?
Very unexciting. It's just my initials, Thomas James Doohan. My wife's name is Jill. She's under the illusion that the J stands for her.
It's really like it's one of the questions that people always ask us and people stress about, and literally it's as dumb as what we just said. You don't overthink it. Um, Ada, what exactly is a pay structure? It really depends on the company that you're working for. There's several different pay structures out there. There are people that will pay you per case. There are people that'll pay you per hour. There'll people that will pay you to be on call and put you on a stipend. Um, Generally, what I'd say is that the majority of us work with different pay models. Each company pays us in a different way. And I think it's a really good strategy. It allows you to really maximize your time and effort and give you flexibility to your schedule. I want to, Teltonia has a question. I hope I'm pronouncing that name correctly. If not, I totally apologize. You cannot work abroad. The question is what about working abroad? Um, we want to be clear about this. If you work with a company that bills Medicare and Medicaid and you're abroad, that's not cool. It's illegal. You shouldn't do it. Uh, There are some insurance plans that don't want you to do that as well. You shouldn't do it. Uh, there are, if you're working in a cash pay model, there's nothing that prevents you from seeing patients while you're abroad. However, there's certain companies that don't want you to do it, not because it's illegal, but because of security measures. So, for instance, if you're flying to China and seeing patients on a cash pay model, um, that company may view China as a huge cybersecurity risk and not want you to do it. What I do is if I'm flying outside of the country, yeah, I'm going to be very, very frank and honest with you guys. Usually, I'm the type of guy who doesn't ask for permission, he asks for forgiveness. In this situation, I ask for permission. If I'm going to be in another country before I leave, I'll say, "Hey, is it okay if I continue to see patients while I'm in another country?" And if they say yes, I'll do it. If they say no, I won't. I have enough companies in my portfolio that are agreeable, so it's okay. Tom and Jeet, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would say the same thing. Truthfully, so I just went to Spain for 10 days a couple months ago. One of the companies, I truthfully didn't want to work that much on while I was away. I really just kind of have this policy. I don't know, it might have been Takashi that shared it. It's just kind of like earn as much as it's just going to cost for that day, and then just use that, and you can knock that out in a couple hours. The same thing. I just messaged whichever company or someone else in air had asked that question already. Is it safe to work in this, in this country? And I did it, but truthfully, it was really more just following up patient messages rather than actually working.
Wallace has a question about pediatric companies. So Wallace, I'd look at Summer Health or Blueberry Health. They're like the two biggest ones out there. Dory has a question. Also, especially as parents, some have concerns over the lack of set benefits, particularly health insurance. How did you overcome that? I got it. I bought health insurance. I went to the connector and I bought it. It cost me, I think, a little bit over 2,500. It's tax deductible. Is more than worth the price. Is really like it's a price for freedom. It's just as good as the coverage that my I was getting before from my hospital. You just like it's I know it's people say it's expensive. It is expensive. It's worth it. Tom, gee, how'd you do it?
So I've been 1099 my whole career, so I always purchased my own insurance. Um, my wife now we get our policies through my wife's work. It's the first time I was out of network. Uh, was when we actually had paid coverage through her work. So, but yeah, it's a no-brainer to be quite honest with you. Just it's $2,500 to buy your own policy. Again, it's that freedom. You get exactly what you want, where all the details, the different variables and how you want your policy to line up, and you pay the price you want.
Yeah, I did Cobra for 18 months after I left my W-2. And then yeah, I mean it's part of the golden handcuff, right? Like I wouldn't let the insurance be part of that handcuff. I would it's worth the price.
Yeah, just pay for it. You'll make enough money to afford it. Um, Then the next question is, are you all working for multiple companies? How many at once? So we think about our telemedicine career as crafting together a portfolio of companies we work for. So we do work for multiple companies. That is also because the landscape is changing. Some companies go out of business. Some companies decide to change their delivery models. We've worked with a company that's fired every physician and hired all NPs. So we do it mostly to hedge just like you would when you're investing in a mutual fund. So we suggest that people get at least 7 jobs, 7 different contracts that they work with. You can do more or less, but that's the that's the gestalt of what we think is if something goes wrong with one, where you can continue to work and it not be um, damaging to your career. We had someone who did not listen to this advice, and they worked for one company and they got fired because they did switch to all MPs, and we had to do a lot of catching up and getting them other jobs. But literally, like when we talked to them, they were crying because of the um, the significant income change that they were going to have abruptly, like 2 weeks later. Uh, so we are just saying that out loud again, just to say like that's why we do this, why we advocate for long-term planning. It's better to have a mix of jobs rather than one job. Honestly, that's what happened to me in my W-2. They cut my shifts by 40%. I had nothing I could do. So we're prepping for that before it happens. Tetonia, the IMLC is a way to expedite your licenses. There's a specific strategy to use the IMLC, and you have to be careful of how you sequence your non-IMLC licenses with your IMLC licenses. If you do it wrong, you're going to wind up spending a lot more money and taking a lot more time and doing a lot more paperwork. I highly suggest that you hire a professional licensing specialist. All right. I think Tom, you got a hard stop at one. Oh, you're on mute.
I do. I was about to just start a clinical shift, but I've got a couple minutes. I'll stay on if I can. Otherwise, I'll jump off. But best of luck, everyone. Nice to speak
Yeah.
to you. Appreciate the time.
What I'll say, like I'll try to answer any more questions that people have, but what I will say is, if you guys have any more questions, definitely come to an information session. We hold one once a week, most of the time, unless we're on vacation. But for the most part, we have one a week. And then I believe Ileana put in the chat information on how to sign up and get more information from us.
Any other questions from anyone?
I think Lindsay, just to make sure you understand, we're not working full time at 7 jobs. We're working part time. So, if you're working 30 hours a week, you're splitting that time, those 30 hours between 7 different jobs. Just so you understand, it's not that you're working 7 jobs all at the same time. That would be hard. That may
Yeah,
even be dangerous.
that would be miserable.
Yeah.
That would be worse than working in the ER.
Yeah.
Well, this
Patrick,
is
thank you so much.
Yeah, no, this has been fantastic. I think, Tom, you really laid out, I think, the emotional side of this. And that's something that I went through and, worked with a gentleman named Lon Stroshine who helped me kind of navigate that. But that uneasy feeling, that pit in your stomach before you start a stretch of shifts, that's a miserable way to live. And I think as physicians, we've got the golden handcuffs of the W-2 job or oh, we're kind of beaten into this scarcity mindset of there's nothing else that I can do. And that's largely why I created ShiftChange and it wanted you all to come in and share your stories. It's not just about starting a business. It's really about reclaiming your life. I mean, how much of a miserable situation is that to think, oh my God, the next 10 years, this is all I can do. So, Tom, kudos to you. I could feel the emotion when you were telling that story and how much of a change in your life. I mean, your family got their dad back, their husband back, their father back. I mean, it's such a huge change for you to be able to realize this and then pursue it. Because I think what so many people do is, they realize, oh my gosh, this is not sustainable, but they never do anything about it. And I think that's a very, very important message, is that only you can change the trajectory of your career and how you want it to be. You can't have somebody or expect somebody else to do that. So one, you got to identify it. And then two, you got to take action, period. Nobody's going to do it for you. And I think, just kudos to you guys for putting AIR Physician Academy together to be able to help your colleagues be able to reclaim their life. So yeah, thank you guys for this discussion. And you're here inside of ShiftChange. So if anybody has any questions, go to your website, follow you on LinkedIn. Any other questions, and then we'll wrap it up. Awesome. Very good. Well, thank you, everyone. We'll get the replay recorded and put onto our YouTube channel, and we'll send the replay link out to everybody who registered. But if there's anything that any of us can do to help you with your entrepreneurial journey, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Bye, guys.
All right. Thanks, everyone.